Yeah, I couldn't hear anybody.
Oh, weird. Gotta love technology.
I know, right? Okay, now can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Sorry about that. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so is the PowerPoint up?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Alexis.
Yeah.
All right. Apologize for the technical delays. I'm not sure what happened there. But my name is Curt. I'm with USDA NASS. We are the data gatherers for USDA. I'm the Nevada state statistician. Some of y'all might have known the previous one. His name was Scott Rumberg. He retired the end of last year, and I just recently took over this year. My director for the Pacific region, his name is Keough. He's currently in another meeting at the moment, but he should be joining us partway through. So a few things that's going to go over is who is USDA NASS, what does NASS do, what the Census of Agriculture is, and how to sign up to be counted for our Census of Agriculture and our annual programs. So NASS is the National Agricultural Statistics Service. And I mentioned I was in the Pacific region, and the Pacific region encompasses California, Hawaii, and Nevada. Now, I'll show a map here of all our other regions here coming up shortly. But what NASS does is we are the Department of Ag agency that provides timely, accurate, and useful data in service to U.S. agriculture. So what we do is we send out surveys and reports to farmers and ranchers throughout the entire country. We do a 5-year Census of Agriculture program, and then we also do an annual program. And I'll talk a little bit about those coming up. Now, when we send out reports to farmers and ranchers throughout the country, all our reports are confidential. We sign annual reports every year. So whenever a farmer reports anything to us, they know that our data or their data is not going to go anywhere. We're not allowed to send that to any other farmers. We're not allowed to send that to any politicians. We're not allowed to send it to any reporters. If we do, we're subject to jail time and fines, or a combination of the two. So that's how we keep our trust with the farmers in our country. Now, when our reports do get, when the data gets tabulated, we combine all those reports, and then we can publish them at the national level, the regional level, state level, and even county level. Now, most of our stuff, or a lot of our stuff, is not published down at the county level, except for our Census of Agriculture. So that all gets published down at the county level. But then we do have some annual reports that do get published down the county level as well, such as our cash rental data, a few commodities, and livestock items as well. Now, when we do go to publish these reports, along with this confidentiality, we also have a disclosure course where we look at a number published and say if a farmer can look at our data and say that, well, that's my data, that's what I reported, then we will not publish that data because we don't want that individual farmer's data put out there. And then just one other thing on our data is once all our data is combined, we have a website that's here at the end of our presentation as well, that you can go out there and it's free to the public. So anybody and everybody can go out there. You can go out there, farmers can go out there to see upcoming trends and different commodities that are planted to see what they might want to plant. Reporters can look at it for upcoming stories. Politicians can look at it for upcoming policies. School students use it for research purposes for all their different programs that they put out there. So it's for everybody to tell the story of what's happening. Now, our headquarters is based in Washington, D.C. We have 12 regional offices, which I'll show a map up here shortly. But just because we have 12 regions, we still have a presence in every single state. So we're still everywhere, and to make sure that we can talk to our farmers and ranchers and industry groups. We have approximately 800 total staff throughout the country. And one important thing here is that our administrator never changes with the elections. So right now we have a Democrat president, and last time we had a Republican president. Our administrator never changed through that time frame. So we're non-political, we're non-biased. And another thing about us is we are not an enforcement agency. So we do not enforce any of the rules. We just try to gather data. So here's a map of where all our regions are located. So like I said, we are currently in the Pacific region over on your left-hand side in the brown. So that's California, Hawaii, Nevada. I know folks are here from Arizona as well. And so that Arizona is in the mountain region, that little green swath. So you have Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, and Colorado, with Denver being the regional office. So what exactly does NASS do? So we're the administrator for USDA's Statistical Estimating Program. And so what that means is we set farm numbers by state for every state. We also send a number or land in farms as well. When you're looking at crops, so you might hear through the news or somewhere about, say, number of wheat planted this year, or number of pounds of some sort of crop harvested this year. Well, that is what we're collecting. So when you look at crops, we look at wheat, cotton, alfalfa, hay. We recently just put out a, I can't even think right now, just kind of another survey this week. And we also do floriculture. Oh, hemp, I'm sorry, that's what I'm thinking of. Hemp. So yeah, we're just doing our first hemp survey. So we're collecting planted acres, harvested acres, and utilization. So we're doing it now, collecting data through December, and then all that stuff should be published in February. But also along with crops, so we can do all sorts of gamuts, say from hay to wheat and everything in between. On the livestock front, we'll look at cattle, sheep, hogs, chickens, so any four-legged critters that you can possibly think of out there. And also look at aquaculture as well. On the economic side, we'll look at labor. So how many, it's a quarterly survey. So we look at hours worked, wages for that time frame. Look at organics, local foods. And we also do a big survey called our Agricultural Resource Management Survey, also known as our ARM survey. And what that does is it looks at an entire farm and this farm sector to see the profitability, or if they're doing really good, or farms are struggling a little bit. And it looks at everything from a small farm to a large farm and everything in between. And also we look at environmental projects as well. So chemical data, what's being put on the ground, how many times is it being worked on the ground? So tillage practices, also irrigation practices. We produce over 400 national reports per year. So that's at the national level. Then you multiply that out by the states, and we put out a lot of reports per year. We also do the 5-year Census of Agriculture, which I'll be talking about here shortly. And all our projects, what we do is I like to tell people that we're trying to tell the story of the actual farmer and rancher, what's happening to them in their community. A lot of times you see people, or not see people, you might see organizations that are trying to sell something on the news, say a farmer's doing this or that, but we try to provide the real data, what's actually happening to the farmer, so they can prove what's happening out there in the real world. So how is our data collected? We send out all our reports by mail, so farmers have the chance to report online, which is very fast. It's easy to use. It has skips in it as well, so they don't have to answer the entire question that we do. We're also, along the lines of online reporting, we're also working on putting out a respondent portal. So farmers can log into this portal and they can see the past reports that they did. It can work with other USDA agencies as well. And then farmers can sign up for different things that they want to look at every day, whether it's the markets, the weather, or anything else that they would like out there. But we're currently working on this, and we hope to have this released here maybe next year or the following year. So other than online reporting, farmers can mail it back, the questionnaire as well. So we allow people to have a business reply envelope. So they'll mail it back, and then we'll work on it in our office. Or if we still can't get information in, we use over the phone. So we'll have people call either from our area or from a data collection center. And then the last one would be in person. And so we used to do a lot more in-person stuff before all COVID and the pandemic hit. Since that all hit, we have not been doing in person because for the safety of our employees out in the field and also for our farmers as well. We just don't want to get anybody sick. Hello, Robertson. So for the people that do all our phone calling or our field work, we call them NASDA enumerators. Now, NASDA stands for National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. We've had a cooperative agreement with them since 1972. So we're going on about 50 years now. We actually had an enumerator in our region who she's been here since the very beginning. So she just hit her 50 years and she just recently retired as well. And so what our enumerators do is they go out and talk to the farmers, they talk to the ranchers. And so without them, we wouldn't be able to gather all that great information that we get. And our NASS enumerators also sign an annual confidentiality contract as well. So they're held by the same standards that federal employees are, where they're not allowed to give out farmer information, their names to anybody. And if they do, they're subject to jail time and also fines as well. All right, so on to the Census of Ag. The first Census of Ag was conducted in 1840 in 26 states and the District of Columbia. In 1997, NASS took over the Ag Census from the Bureau of Census. And it just makes sense for the USDA, Department of Agriculture, to be doing an agricultural census instead of the Bureau of Census. So 170 plus years later, NASS is doing the Census of Agriculture. We conducted in all 50 states, conducted in Puerto Rico, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and America Samoa. Now you put all that together, and that's data for more than 3,000 U.S. counties and 30,000 zip codes. In the 2017 census, which was the last time we did one, we mailed out a little over 3 million forms to potential farmers and ranchers throughout the entire country. And you also got to figure the Census of Agriculture is a 24-page questionnaire. So that's a lot of paper and forms being moved throughout the country. So what is the Census of Ag? It's a complete count taken every 5 years of America's farms and ranches and the people who operate them. So in the years that start with a 2 or a 7 is when we'll conduct our Census of Agriculture. Next year's the 2022 census, and so at the end of next year we'll be mailing out the census. So if you're a farmer or rancher, get ready because they'll be coming. So the Census of Ag is the most complete agricultural data available out there. We're surveying every single person that we know of who could potentially be a farm. Now on our annual program, what we do between those years is we do not survey every single farmer. So we're about to do a cattle survey here in January. We're not surveying every single cattle operator throughout the entire country because, for one, that costs a lot of money to do that. So we take probability, and we'll take one farmer will represent other farmers, so that way we can combine and get all our data. The Census of Ag is the only source of uniform, comprehensive, and impartial ag data for every county in the nation. Like I was saying earlier, we're not political. We're not political. We're not trying to sell anything or try to have you buy anything from us. The only thing we're trying to sell is our farmers and ranchers and showing what a good job that they're doing throughout the country. They're raising food for us to eat, and they go through a lot of challenges, especially out in the West with all the droughts, the wildfires that we've had year in and year out. So we need our farmers, we need our ranchers, and this is a source to show what's out there. And the Census of Ag shows everything from what's planted in the ground to what's harvested, what's produced, the sales that they had that year, the expenses, so all the different inputs that were out there. It also talks about demographics and a whole bunch of other different practices as well. So for USDA standards, a farm is defined as any place from which at least $1,000 of ag products were produced and sold, or normally would have been sold during the census year. Now, that normally would have been sold is a good thing to talk about, especially for the past year when we were in the COVID. Some farmers weren't able to sell anything just the way the things were. So, but they still had the potential to sell something. Another way where this comes into play is, say somebody has some nut trees or fruit crop that they just planted. Well, it takes a while to get those trees and bushes up to bearing acres. So that's in the ground. So there's the potential there. So they're still classified as a farm. And with $1,000 threshold, it doesn't take much to be a farmer. Say, have a couple head of cattle on your place, you're classified as a farm for USDA purposes. A couple horses, you're also in the mix. And so this screen shows the 2022 Census of Agriculture. So it's just in a draft form. I'd show you the entire thing, but right now I'll just show you like the first page. And you can tell it's in draft because it's like in your top left-hand corner, it has draft 5 on it. So potentially this is what's going to be coming out the end of next year. And it's green currently, but down at the bottom will give you the website that we can go to verify who we are, or ways to report online as well. It gives you a due date. And it says that the census is actually mandatory, whereas our annual reports are typically voluntary. So we're dependent on our farmers and ranchers to turn that information in. And when we look at OMB standards, which I can show on the next page here. So for OMB, we send all our surveys out to Office of Management and Budget. They look at all reports throughout the entire country and make sure that reports are not being duplicated and that taxpayer money is not being wasted. And so whenever we do get things approved, and as you tell by down the bottom paragraph there, and this is also on the questionnaire itself, that the Census of Ag has been approved by OMB. The number is 05350226. And for this particular survey, there's an average time of about 50 minutes to fill out the questionnaire. Now, that's just an average. Your larger farms will take a little bit longer, and your smaller farms will take a little bit less. But on average, it takes 50 minutes. That paragraph right above that mentions about our CIPSIA, and that just talks about the confidentiality, the trust, and the bond that we have with our farmers and ranchers, and the different fines. If you looked into it, the different fines that we'd have to pay if we gave out that information. Now, also, you can see that the respondent can put in their name, their email address, their phone number. And the reason why that is when we get all these questionnaires back, and like I said, we had 3 million that went out last time for census. If we have any questions while we're reviewing the data, then we can call the farmer back and just verify that data makes sense. Sometimes we'll get there and maybe the production number is in the wrong units, so we just need to convert things over. So we just need to verify that all the data is in there and makes sense, and it is what it is supposed to be. So your voice matters. We need to hear from you and in your group. By participating in Census of Ag, you help show the nation the value and the importance of U.S., your state, and your reservation's agriculture. People need to see what farmers and ranchers are doing. We need our food. And I was just talking to actually a kid in one of my kids' classes the other day, and he was talking about all the food in grocery stores. And I was just trying to tell him where his food was coming from the grocery store, and he really didn't know where it was coming from. So it's trying to teach people that food is, we need our food, American food, healthy food, safe food. And this is the way where people can tell their story. It also comes into play whenever you're looking at policies coming out. I heard a stat the other day that all the politicians, there's less than 10% that actually have an agricultural background. yet they're going to be looking at farm bills and different policies and disaster stuff for our region. So we need to show them the number of farmers out there. And this is your opportunity to tell how American agriculture provides food, fuel, and fiber to the world. Farmers don't just give us food, they also give us clothes on our back. And we need to be clothed. But by responding to the census, you have the power to influence decisions that will shape American ag for years to come. So I talked about hemp earlier. So that opens up different marketing locations. They need somewhere to take their product. That also involves transportation. You have different farm services, programs, policies, production practices. So just take irrigation, for example. We don't just flood irrigate anymore. There's also drip irrigation, line irrigation. So there's different techniques, and there's new technologies out there every year as well. And so this just helps with the data, and we always need more data. And so on our website, you can go out to and see last year's Census of Agriculture, where we published everything down to the county level. There's also a couple other reports that I like to show different people whenever they call in and say, what's happening in my particular county, what's happening in my particular state. And I always refer them at least for a snapshot of these state and county profiles. It's a 2-page paper that just shows front and back of just a snapshot in time of what's happening. There's also race, ethnicity, and gender profiles where you can see different groups as well. So I'm going to show some examples here coming up. And so this one's on Nevada. And so this is just the top half of the first page. And you can see on the left-hand side, it gives number of farms, land and farms, but it also gives you the market value of products sold and also farm production expenses down there at the bottom. Now on your right-hand side, it gives you from 1997 to current of the number of farms. So there's Nevada. Here's California. So same type of information. The number of farms is around 70,000 for California. And as you can see on the right-hand side, the trend in farms is kind of slightly going down since 1997. And then here is Arizona. Now, one thing to see about Arizona is so in 1997, when NASS first took over the Census of Agriculture, we used to count reservations as a whole. So we knew how much land was there, we knew how much livestock was there, we knew the crops, but we didn't know the number of people. And so in 2017, we went through this effort to make sure we collect not just the reservation level, but also all the individual farmers and ranchers on the reservations. And so you can see from, sorry, my screen's tiny. So you can see from 2002 to 2007 that the number of farmers in Arizona jumped up about 8,000 farmers. And that's because of all the reservation level data, where we're not just getting the total, we're getting the individual farmers. And so that was a huge project. I actually started my career out in Arizona around that exact same time. And so I was able to help assist with gathering that data. And so it's really good to get the number of farmers out there. And so what we're trying to do is continue that effort, continue growing our farmers and ranchers on the reservations and making sure that everybody's getting equally accounted for. And so then this next screen goes over to our gender profiles. And the first one that you look up, you can see is Nevada farms with American Indian or Alaska Native producers. And so for Nevada in 2017, we had roughly 265 farms with American Indian compared to the all farms of around 3,400. And so my question for everybody is, does that make sense for Nevada? And if not, in 2022, we have an opportunity to gather more information, gather more folks, and try to build on that number. So Dallas asks, up to what was reservations counted as a whole? Here, let me back up the screen here for you. So up till 2002, so we took the entire reservation level. So we would talk to the tribal leaders and ask, so what is the number of acres that you have on your reservation? Do you have any crops, and what are those commodities? So we had acres planted and also harvested, and also the production number, and also the livestock. So were there any cattle on your operation? Were there any sheep on there, even horses? And in 2007, instead of, we still talked to the tribal leaders, but then we'd also talk to the individual farmers on those reservations. And what we did is we went up there, or I'm sorry, not up there, but we went to different reservations, and we could also hire some NASS enumerators. And so we had local people talking to local farmers and ranchers to gather all that information. And just being in Arizona at that time, I think we hired probably 75 to 100 Native American enumerators at that time to gather that information. So I hope that answered your question. So here's the Nevada, the farmers with American Indian, like I was mentioned earlier. So roughly 265. And California, we had approximately 2,100 farms out there. San Carlos Apache, I can, I'm not sure if we have any information on that, but I can check here for you. I'll show you where to, I got another slide showing you where that could possibly be at. And then also Arizona. Don't worry, Robertson, I'm new at this as well. So you can see from Arizona, the number of farms is around 11,000 compared to the all farms in Arizona was around 19,000. So there's a whole bunch of different information out there. You can go out to our website and check it all out. And even if you're not from one of these 3 states, all the other states are out there as well. And all this information you can break down to the county level as well. So there's a whole plethora of information. And also in 2017, and on this one, instead of just pulling, say, individual states, individual counties, I just did it at the national level. So at the national level in 2017, the number of farms was around 2 million. And for American Indian, we had around 60,000. For number of producers on those farms, on the questionnaire, we asked up to 4 producers. So we had around 3.4 million at the US level and 79,000 American Indians as well. Land and farms, you're looking at 900 million compared to 58.7 million. Market value of products sold, 389 million at the US level and 3.54 billion at the American Indian level. Dallas, I'll get to that website address here at the end too. And for farm production expenses, around 326 billion and 3.36 billion on the American Indian side. Now, the reason why I put the farm production expenses is just to show that farmers and ranchers, they're producing a lot of stuff for us, but they're also in our communities. They're supporting our stores. They're buying inputs such as seed, feed, chemicals. They're providing labor, repairs, markets. So there's all sorts of things that they're contributing to our communities as well. And so they say they're spending a lot of money to produce our food. And this is, I just pulled the top crops that were on for the American Indian. And so forage, which would also include hay, would be around 1.3 million acres. Wheat for grain, around 500,000 acres. Soybeans for beans, around 400,000 acres. Corn for grain, 342,000. And then cotton, 93,000. And if I'm going a little too fast or a little too slow, I've saved all this PowerPoint for the documents, and from what I understand, everybody can upload those later on if you want to see the entire PowerPoint again. And these are your top livestock. So we had broilers and other meat chickens around 30 million. Cattle and calves, 1.8 million at the US level. Layers and pullets, so eggs, 1.8 million. Turkeys, around 400,000. Sheep, 400,000. Horses, 152,000. Hogs and goats as well. And so, somebody earlier, Robertson asked about the San Carlos Apache tribe, and so I'm not promising that they're in there. I haven't looked all to that type of level. But if they were to be out there, they would be included here in this American Indian Reservation. And so this is something that we put out here. I think it's been out here for a couple censuses now. And the way to get into this is on the Census of Ag questionnaire on the back page. There's a section for American agricultural activity within the borders of American Indian reservations. So we can go out there and have the farmers go out there and fill out their reservation. And then all the data is going to be linked up and summarized based on whatever is included in here. Now, the other way to get that in there, though, is we try to get approval from each reservation, each tribe, to make sure that the leaders and the people want their reservation actually included in this publication. So if you do want it included and it's not currently out there, please reach out to me, or I also got the state reps here in the end that you can reach out to them as well. But when you click on that button, this is the first page you're going to see. So it's the front of the publication. Now I just took a snapshot of just the first reservation listing, and it's broken down by state, just to show which different reservations are in there per state. As you can tell, Arizona is in there. And it does look like the San Carlos Apache tribe is included within there with Arizona. California, there was one in there that we got last time. And then, as you can tell, for Nevada, we don't have any. So one of my goals is hopefully we can get a couple Nevada reservations in there this time. And if you like to do that, I'd definitely like to reach out to, I've been trying to reach out to everybody just to see about trying to get everybody included in here as well. And then I'm also trying to make sure that all the farmers and ranchers on each reservation is accurately accounted for. And then also what's included in here, also it's included in this publication. I didn't put any numbers in here, just some things to look at, but you can look at the farm numbers. You can look at land and farms for your particular reservation or tribe. Then you look at the number of producers and how they're broken down by male and female. You can look at the market value of ag products and also broken down by crops and livestock value as well. You can see the crops in your area. So everything from barley down to wheat, alfalfa, vegetables, orchards. And that's not a full list of the crops that are on the left-hand side. I just some of them in there. And then also livestock. So you can see how many cattle are in your area: hogs, sheep, horses, goats, bisons, chickens. So a little bit of everything. All right, looks like Dallas asked, just to be clear, what is the purpose of the American Indian Reservation Ag Census? So are you just talking about the publication? And if it's just the publication, so it's just one of the products that we put out there for everybody. And so whenever we started doing the census, there was, we had tribe leaders and reservation leaders that were asking that they wanted to see what's actually in their area. And so that's how that publication came about. So you can see what's actually in your area. So if that didn't help, I can definitely contact you afterwards too. And then Robertson asked, question, I always see USDA on our community commodity store. Is that from all Arizona farms? USDA on our community store. It depends on what you're looking at. Maybe if you send me the what you're looking at, I could narrow it down for you. Is it an acre number that you're looking at, or is it a policy number, or a drought assistance? I just need a little bit more information on that one. Dallas said, yes, Nevada. I reside on the South Abandoned Reservation located in northeastern Nevada. I raise cattle and horses. All right, Dallas, thanks. I'll see if you're included, and if not, we'll get you on there. So your future, by responding to the Census of Ag, you have a positive impact on the future of your operation and your community. It helps with planning for the future, so community planning, farm succession planning. So who's going to be taking over your particular operation in the future? Store company locations, like I was saying, with those expenses that those farmers and ranchers are spending, they need to buy it somewhere. They need their inputs somewhere located close by, availability of operation loans and other funding, which I can talk shortly about here shortly as well. And then federal budget support for agriculture. I mentioned less than the 10% of politicians that came from an ag background. We need to give them accurate information so they're setting good policies based on good data, and that's going to support everybody throughout the country. So some other benefits, so extension service funding, additional farm service agency programs, and FSA is another agency within USDA. They're the ones that provide disaster assistance programs for all those droughts that are currently out there, and wildfires, pests, and animal diseases. And you can see some of that information on our farmers.gov webpage. And then also with the pandemic, there's a lot of pandemic assistance programs as well. So some COVID-19 relief. And that's all on the farmers.gov. Now, the additional Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, which is another USDA program. They look at conservation efforts throughout your area. And also then RMA. RMA looks at different programs for insurance purposes for commodities. So say if a drought or a wildfire or some other thing came in, and if it's insured, then it comes out to RMA programs. So they look at the different payments as well. And another key benefit is writing grant proposals for reservation level projects. So we have researchers come in all the time looking at data, and they're trying to show what the data is on maybe at the reservation level or the county level, and how it's beneficial for society and beneficial to get more programs, and or how a loan that's currently out there, how that loan is working. So they need data as well to support you all. So your opportunity. So your response to the Census of Agriculture makes a difference. I can't stress that enough. That is where, say, we're surveying every farmer and rancher throughout the U.S. We need your data to support you guys, you gals. We're there for you. And then that way everybody else knows what's being grown out there. And especially with a drought year and COVID year, and who knows, we need water, lots of water. We need to ensure that the best tools and reports are available. We need accurate information from all farmers and ranchers. And not just certain farmers, but from everybody. And if you're not currently getting our reports, we want to make sure you get our reports. And we want to make sure that you are counted. And then respond early to avoid those follow-up contacts. So be counted. There's strengths in numbers. One way to be counted is you can go to this website, and in the next couple slides I'll show you what it looks like. But you can go up here, and it's a short form just to fill out, and then we'll get you counted for our next census and for our annual programs. If that doesn't work, or if there's another way, you can contact myself, or I'm going to show you a couple other representatives here you can contact as well. But if somebody's not on your list or you don't remember who those are, always feel free to reach out to me. I love talking to people. And so if you go to this website, this is just how to sign up to be counted. So you just put in your operation name if you got it, your producer name, address, and phone number, so we know where to send the report to. And if we got questions, we know who to call. And then at the bottom, it just asks ethnicity, race, and sex. And then you just hit submit, and you're all done. So some dates to remember. So November 21st is our first census mail out. So that's in 2022. And what we're going to do this year is we're going to, like I was saying, the questionnaire is 24 pages. So we're going to try to only send out a one-page reminder or one-page form that just says our census is out there. Try to go fill it out online, and we're going to see about a response on that. And then after that, then we'll mail out the entire questionnaire. Now, by February 6th of 2023 is our census deadline. So when we try to have all that information back. And then after that is when we start making all the additional phone calls to try to get boost up our data and our response. And then in February 22nd of 2024 is when that census data is going to be available. I know it seems like a long time away, but whenever you start looking at those 3 million reports and you're trying to break it down by the commodity level or by the county level at the commodity level, it's a lot of data to look at and make sure that everything is accounted for properly. So it takes a little bit to analyze all that stuff. And then responding to the census, this long paragraph just basically says you can go online to report, and it's quick and easy to do. And alternatively, if you want to, you can respond by mail So for more information, if you want to go look at more ag census stuff, you can go to this website. If you take off the ag census portion and just leave it at www.nass.usda.gov, that is our main site to go to. And that has everything on there, all our publications, all our data. So you can see anything and everything that you possibly want out there. If you want some promotional and outreach products for census, there's some partner tools that we have out there as well. And at least for Nevada, I was looking at different reservation sites. I noticed you guys have some awesome websites. So maybe we could also market something out there as well. And then if you're on Twitter, you can go to USDA, at USDA_NASS, and we're out there on Twitter. And then, so here are the state contacts. So in California, like I mentioned earlier, Gary Keough, he is the director of the Pacific region, and he's also taking care of California. I'm Curt. I'm Nevada. I'm the Nevada state stat. I'm under Gary, so feel free to reach out to me anytime that you want as well. On the Arizona side, you might remember Dave's name. He presented here a couple years ago. Dave is actually the Arizona state stat, and he is in the mountain region, along with Longino Bastillos. He's in New Mexico as the New Mexico state stat. So there's everybody's information. So feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we're always willing to help. And that's my last slide. So let me see if I got any questions over here. So Dal said, yes, contact me, need more clarification. So let me write your name down. All right, Dallas, yeah, I'll reach out to you. I'll see if I can find your name and your email address or phone number here in maybe one of the listings. And if not, feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm glad to see you utilize FSA and NRCS. They have some great programs out there. Yeah, does DeWalt own drills? Yeah. When I first started my career with USDA, Dave was actually my first boss to have with USDA. So he's a good individual. And I think he does own a few DeWalt drills. But yeah, no, so the one thing I cannot stress enough is farmers and ranchers. We love all our farmers and ranchers. They do amazing work. They provide food on our table, and they provide the clothing on our back. Without our farmers and ranchers, we'd be lost. We'd be hungry. And say this drought, it's going to be interesting to see what happens coming up. Looking outside the window, it's currently raining outside my window, so I'm hoping we get a lot of rain and snowpack this fall and winter. So that really help matters. But even going forward, we need to support our farmers, and through our data, hopefully that will be beneficial for people in the future. And so if you're not currently being counted for, please let us know. If you got some friends out there as well, sign them up. And if you want us in your area, we'll be more than happy to come out as well. Currently, we're on a travel restriction, but once that thing gets lifted, we'll be more than happy to come out there and see you all. Thanks, Robertson. Thanks, Tracy. Or Tacey, sorry.
Hey, great job, Curt. And if there's no other questions, we can end the session.
And like I said earlier, this whole entire PowerPoint I uploaded to the documents, so it should be out there however you can pull that thing.
Yep, if they go into the details tab where they're seeing this presentation, it should be under there.
Oh, okay.
Should be easy to find.
Cool. Well, Robertson, I think we can reach out to Dave and see about his plans to go out there. I did talk to Dave, I believe it was yesterday, the day before, and he's been trying to make the rounds every couple of years to make sure he talks to everybody. So I would imagine he'd be out there before the next census, so 2022. And if not, we can talk to him, get you on the list. All right. Anybody else? Looks like we got what, 30 seconds left. All right, good deal. Well, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I apologize for the start of this meeting. Not sure what was going on with all the technical stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the conference. We're almost done.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Alexis.